This is New Zealand, folks. Now today I'm at the Otago Museum and I'm in the Maritime Gallery, and here's the wee history for it here. This gallery was opened in 1973. It tells the story of shipping and maritime history through intricate model ships. An iconic whale skeleton, flags, ships, bells and more. The gallery was established at the Otago Museum by the Otago Maritime Society, who still work with the museum today to share our shipping stories. Many of the intricate model ships on display here are the original Steamship Company builders' models. The Union Steamship Company grew from humble origins at the Otago Harbour on the strength of Dunedin's post-gold rush commercial boom. It expanded into domestic trade within the South Island and then grew to dominate trans-Tasman trade, rapidly absorbing national and international competitors. It gave the nickname of the Southern Octopus. By 1914, it was one of the largest shipping companies in the world. Crikey. Yeah, so that's the big whale. The whale skeleton has been at Otago Museum for more than 100 years. It was found on the beach at the entrance to the Waimea River Nelson in 1882 by Captain Jackson Barry. The captain toured the skeleton around the South Island before it was purchased by the museum. So it's an adult fin whale, can reach up to 27 metres in length and weigh up to 80 tonnes. Second largest animal. Okay. So this is the Union Steamship Company, and here's their story here. Okay, the story of the Union Steamship Company has been one of expansion and innovation, closely bound up with the story of economic progress of New Zealand. It is also a record of progress in ship design and maritime engineering. Okay, so here's the founders and board of directors, 1881, John Cargill, J.R. Jones. Okay, Jones, he was the son of Johnny Jones, and he was a famous whaler here in Dunedin. And there's some of the ships. They had over 70 ships at the height of their success. And here's some of them. These are all ship models built by the Union Steamship Company. Now, I particularly want to talk about the Wahine. Now, this was the Wahine that my father was on when he was off to the Korean War in 1951. Okay, so Union Steamship Company of New Zealand. She was built at the Leven Shipyard, Dumbarton. Tonnage 4,436 tonnes, speed 21 knots. And yeah, so that's the Wahine. Right. Launched November 1912. Built as a running mate of the Maori for the Lyttelton Wellington service, Wahine was a repeat of the earlier vessel with some modifications and improvements. Like the Maori, she also had a bow rudder which enabled her to steer as efficiently going astern as moving ahead. She had accommodation for 400 in first class and 188 in second class. Okay, during World War I, she was employed in the Mediterranean, initially as a dispatch vessel, but from 1916 as a mine layer. In this role, she laid 11,378 mines and returned to New Zealand in 1919. Like Maori, she was converted from coal burning to fuel oil fuel in 1924. In 1924, she made an 8-hour, 21-minute record crossing at an average speed of 20 knots. That's Wellington. That's the ferry service. In 1951, she was requisitioned to carry 570 New Zealand troops to the Korean War and was wrecked on a reef, Marcella Island in the Afara Sea in August 1951 without any loss of life. Yeah, well, my father was on that ship, on the Wahine, and the captain it was an uncharted reef, and he put her full steam ahead, and she ran up on the rocks, so she would sit there and wouldn't sink. Now, out of the 570 soldiers on board, Dad said there was 200 Maori soldiers, and they put a tapu on the Wahine, and that was never lifted. And so consequently, we moved forward in time to TEV Wahine, and she was launched in 1965. Dimensions 440 feet by 71 feet. So she was 8,000 gross tonnes. When built, the Wahine was the largest and fastest roll-on, roll-off vessel in the world. She had capacity for 931 passengers and approximately 200 vehicles, in addition to the 18,000 shaft horsepower turbo electric propulsion. Okay, here we go. The Wahine was an unlucky ship. The shipyard where she was built had financial and labour problems. Her performance on trials was not satisfactory, and she had a series of other incidents. On the morning of 10th of April 1968, as she was entering Wellington Harbour in extreme weather conditions, she struck Barrett Reef and subsequently foundered off Steeple Rock within the harbour. Later in the day, with the loss of 51 lives, her wreck was progressively removed between October 68 and 1973, September 1973. So there's TEV Wahine. And yeah, unfortunately that tapu was never lifted. And she was a ship of the Union Steamship Company, and they plied between Wellington and Christchurch. And then New Zealand Railways took over their service from around 1972 because the Union Steamship Company was sold to P&O Cruises, of all people, and became defunct as a company. And originally, as I say, set up by Johnny Jones and his son here in Dunedin. So it was one of the world's greatest shipping companies, one of the world's largest. It all started in Dunedin. And there's two Maoris as well. Here's TEV Maori, and she was built for the Union Steamship Company. And she was a more modern version of the original, which is down here. So two Wahines and two Maoris. And that's her there, TSS Maori. And she was launched in May 1907. Yeah, so amazing. Yeah, so that's the tale of the two Wahines. Fascinating. And here's some of the Union Steamship Company's models, beautiful models. And this particular ship here, the SS Mahino. She was a World War I hospital ship. She was converted into a hospital ship in 1914. I think she was at Gallipoli. Yeah, so that's the tale of the Union Steamship Company. And there's all her ships there. So check it out, folks.